Morning.
Good morning.
Look, we have our number one in the leaderboard on the call. I kind of nerded out a little bit yesterday, guys, and built this spreadsheet with the help of my assistant. And I'll show it to you really fast since I'm so geeked up about it. It's like the coolest thing I've ever done on Excel, if that tells you anything. Look at this. So we created a system or a point system that we talked about yesterday for contacts, appointments held, appointments taken or listings taken, database ads and pipeline ads, and everything feeds from the weekly thing and it's all totaled. And then at any time I can come in here and see who's ranked what, and Heather Fowler is winning. So congratulations.
Oh, yay.
124 points. So we got some people on the call that I don't think like Mary Steele, 5th place. Come on, right?
It's early in the game.
That's right. Y'all watch out now. Heather's a force to be reckoned with. Okay. I can't remember if I said this out loud yesterday or I kind of thought it in my mind, but I want to make a slight improvement to the bold stuff. Okay, so we said that the person that wins the point system contest is going to get a free ticket. I'm totally cool with that. We're going to keep that in place. The other thing is if the group in together hits the goal of 100 listing appointments, buyers or sellers, and 63 listings taken, then we're going to give the second place person a bold ticket also. Is that cool? Everyone excited about that?
Yes.
Candace, should we have like a special secret point tracker for whether you have your camera on in the morning?
I think so. Yes.
All right. What's up, everybody? Tell me some good
I'm
news.
about to go get my second COVID shot. So you guys are going in my purse, but I'll be listening.
Okay. All right. Who's got some good news they want to share? I know a bunch of you guys have been super busy. Who wants to, well, before I go there, who wants to give me some feedback from Greta's class yesterday? She rocked it, didn't she? Mindy, tell me what you learned.
I really liked her class. I really thought that she broke it down in a way where she organized everything and you could see how everything was like color coded and organized and in folders, and it was just really helpful because otherwise it could become a jumbled mess. And I love the way that she wrote everything out so that you could go back. She emailed them all to everybody who emailed her. Yep. And you can go back and read this step by step as well. It was amazing. I loved being there.
Beautiful. Anyone else? Did anyone else attend? Chantrell, I know you came. Anyone else watch the video? Chantrell, what were your thoughts? Give us some feedback if you don't mind.
Calling for Leonie.
Chantrell, give me a little feedback if you don't mind, please. Can you hear me?
Okay, I'm here.
All right. What did you think of the class yesterday?
Oh, wow. Greta did a great job. It was very helpful. And then going over the slides that she sent, I don't think I need you guys' help anymore.
See, isn't that amazing?
I got it. Thanks, Greta, if she's on here.
All right, Chantrell, maybe you can teach the next round.
Absolutely.
I love that. I love that. That there is a concept in kind of leadership and coaching where in growing and hiring where we talk about this concept of building a bench. And Michelle actually even used that phrase yesterday by saying, you know, we want you guys to win, right? And when you win and you win over and over again, people start to take notice, right? And then you get opportunities and you get a platform and you get an opportunity to share what you've learned and inspire others. And I want you to be perfectly clear. I'm here to build leaders. right? I don't need to be at the front of the room every day. Let me tell you that for sure, right? I want you guys to get smarter and smarter and more comfortable and confident so that you can say, hey, I love FSBOs. Can I teach a class on FSBOs? Or I love Vulcan 7. Can I teach a class on that? So please, I want you guys to fully understand. I am in support of that 100%. I am perfectly happy to sit on the sidelines and watch y'all rock it. Okay. Anyone else want to share any positive news for today? Anyone? All right, let's do a little.
I want to share. I had
Yeah,
a great day door knocking yesterday for Red Day.
Tell
And
us all about that.
well, I created a flyer and I went around to a specific neighborhood, a subdivision in my neighborhood and my street. And I door knocked for about 3.5 hours. And I had a lot of conversations. Received one donation so far, but I plan to pick up. They're going to text me or call me. So I'll get that contact information to come by and pick up donations before Thursday, and even after Thursday if they can't do it by Thursday.
Beautiful.
But yeah, I was excited to see that a lot of people remembered me from the last time. So I feel like I'm building relationships. They even remembered my name. I came across some information about 3 homes that are vacant that I can reach out to the sellers about. So I felt like it was a good day.
I love that. So just a quick idea is if they're remembering your name, you need to ensure that you're remembering their name, right?
Right.
What's your system for that?
Right. And I did not. I tried to prepare ahead of time with writing down names with the addresses. And I got some of them down. So there were some of them that I was able to address by name, but others that I was not able to. So I'm doing handwritten notes to all those folks. I add them into my database and I give them a tag of like Red Day donation or charity donation when I collect around the holidays.
Love that.
But I do need to come up with some kind of better system to actually remember their names as I'm walking. And maybe it's just that I didn't prepare enough ahead of time, give myself enough time to prepare.
Well, there's 2 elements. One is you didn't have a system, and so it's hard to prepare. So if we build a system, then you make time to prepare, and everything, it works out better. I mean, let's be real. Did anyone else door knock for 3.5 hours yesterday? Okay, so Donna, you're making some massive progress. We're just everything we do, we just got to kind of take a step back and say, was there a way that this could have been improved? How could we plus it? How can we take it to the next level? So the way that you could take that to the next level, for example, is this is something that April is actually working on a little bit. So she's targeting a neighborhood. I don't know how many homes are in it, probably like maybe 50 or 60 homes or so. And she printed out a big map of like
I saw that.
Like of the plots, right? So, if the road goes like this and, each half an acre lot or 3/4, quarter of an acre lot or whatever, and you could see not quite the houses, but you could see like the boundaries of the lots, right? You could see what houses are in the cul-de-sac and what houses are on that street and all that kind of thing. And she's basically making it, her intention is to meet every single person that lives in that community, right?
Mhm.
So when she meets somebody at an open house or walking the dog or, that responds to one of her calls or something, she says, oh, that house, that's Joe and Sarah, and they've got 2 little kids and they love to vacation at Disney, right? It's like she is intentionally penetrating that neighborhood, and that neighborhood will be hers.
Yeah, I saw her map. She had it at team meeting. When I saw her at team meeting last week, she was working on it beforehand. So I saw that. I tried to do that in Remind and I couldn't figure out how to print the map. So I need to work on that.
So let's maybe reach out to April and see if she can give you a quick little overview or give everyone a quick little overview. Great job, Donna. Great job.
Okay, thank you.
Man, you add those people to the database and the pipeline, you're going to be at the top of the charts.
Yep. Wish me luck with those 3 owners with the vacant houses.
Yes, ma'am.
Potential listings, I'm hoping.
All right. Tell them that there's probably never been a better time to sell. Right.
Yes, sir, I will.
You may be shocked at the amount of money that you can make from selling in today's environment. When would you like to meet? Tomorrow at 3 or Thursday at 3?
Got it.
Right. All right. Let me give you a couple of quick housekeeping pieces. So I made an announcement yesterday. A woman named Mignon Hooper, who's been a longtime productivity coach. She was at Sugarloaf office for a while, and she's now at the Chat North office, is going to be teaching a class every Tuesday, starting today, Tuesday from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock. I put in the link in the chat yesterday. And what it's going to be is it's going to be kind of a small group role play. So the way that she envisions it is there's going to be a bunch of people that come in, people from the other 2 offices as well, and she'll kind of give a lesson and kind of set the stage. And she's going to break off the group into small breakout rooms. I don't know if you guys have ever done that on Zoom, but it's really cool. And then those small breakout rooms are going to be, you're going to be encouraged to do some role play back and forth, right, with respect to your presentation. So I would highly encourage you to participate in that. That is today and every Tuesday from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Don't forget about the tracking leaderboard. We've only got 12 out of 80 of you guys that have reported your numbers. And we made a specific point to go back to Sunday night reporting. So please make sure that gets updated. And then I want to give you as much heads up as possible for next Wednesday. But I'm sorry, 2 Wednesdays from now, which is the 26th of May. The 26th of May from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. is going to be the 36 touch class. That's going to be it's a free CE class. It's going to be taught by Andy and Leslie Peters, of course. And this is their system. They've traveled all across the country teaching this. Okay. And they're going to be doing it for free and CE credit on 2 Wednesdays from now. When we say that when you communicate with your database properly, what we mean is a 36 touch. So it's 36 intentional touches to your database every year. And it can be a combination of a bunch of different things, right? It can be a combination of client events, handwritten notes, telephone calls, texts, video text, in-person meetings, invitations to client events, these kind of things. So 36 touches. And Andy and Leslie are going to deliver, kind of show you what they do. And their business ranges from about 80 to 85% each year, repeat and referral customers or clients. So that should tell you that this system is working. And for a team that will sell, 250 to 300 units this year, I'd say that's a model that you might like to be familiar with. Is that fair?
And Bill, I'd like to add, I was on our coaching call yesterday. Bill's in my coaching call yesterday, and they had Steve, I think it's Schleger, who worked with Gary Keller for 4 years.
Schleter.
And hit
Schleter. He's one of the top bold coaches, and he is, when Gary owned, he now re-owns Austin Southwest, which is the #1 KW, the first KW office in Austin. And Steve was his team leader. So Gary was the OP, like Andy is, right? Gary was the OP. That's Gary Keller. And Steve was the team leader. So they worked hand in hand for years. Go ahead. Sorry.
And fun fact about him that they brought up yesterday, he has really sexy legs. But anyway, what he was talking about was the importance of our database, and that the only way that we are going to win in this market of the people like Zillow's is because people want to do business with people they like and trust and know. And the only way that we can really do that is to I can't tell you how he emphasized getting down deep into your database and working your database. And that is going to keep us in business for the long haul, because the iBuyers cannot touch that. And when they want low-level service, low-level fiduciary, or low-level functionary versus our high-level relationship and our high-level fiduciary, there's no comparison, and we will still be paid. So I just wanted to emphasize that, because I think we keep hearing that message that your database is your gold mine. But I think what they emphasize is when they're in a room and they say how many people do a 36 touch, a really pitiful amount of people stand up and say we do a 36 touch. And when they talk about how many of you do a quarterly call, half of those people sit down. So we still have a lot of improvement. And if those of us, especially those of you who are starting your journeys, can get that down from the beginning, you'll be unstoppable.
Right. And, you know, I hate to say it this way, but if you are not dripping on your people, they're getting dripped on by some other real estate agent, and they're getting dripped on by the Zillows and the Redfins and all of them. And then when it comes time to make a real estate decision, they will go to the person that has probably been the kindest, the most professional, and brought the most value. And so you have to ask yourself, is that me? Right? Am I that person? Or am I the person that, you know, met them at an open house 3 years ago and hasn't communicated with them since, and then has the nerve to get upset when they buy with somebody else? Right? I learned a very important lesson. Gosh, it took me a long time to learn this lesson. But when enough of my friends bought with other people, and I said, look, it's not their fault, it's my fault. I didn't make it a slam dunk. I did not create enough value for them. And maybe they didn't think of me the way they needed to think of me in order to never consider making a real estate decision without me. And so the fact that they bought with somebody else, that's my problem. That's all on me, all of it. Yet sometimes you get lucky, right? Yesterday afternoon, right after our huddle, or yesterday morning, right after our huddle, I got a LinkedIn message from a woman that I placed into a rental in Johns Creek like 10 or 11 years ago that's ready to buy $400,000 house, right? So again, I never thought I'd hear from her. I kid you guys not. I've probably left, I don't know, maybe 300 messages with her in the last 11 years. She has not returned a single call, not a single one. I have considered dropping her from the database probably 30 times. Never did it. Thank God she reached out. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes it's not even the conversation that matters. It's the fact that you attempted the conversation. Make sense? Okay, anyone else want to add anything? And then we'll move on to the MMO. Okay, let's do a little screen share here. Okay, I will go ahead and put this in the chat so you guys can have a copy of this. This was sent out by Lucy, and typically is sent out by Lucy within the last couple of days of the month or the first couple of days of the month. I'm going to send you guys the PDF, and I will post it in the announcements page right now, so you can have a record of it. Okay, and I want to show you kind of how to make sense of this. Okay, a lot of it is it's a lot of information. Okay, so I'm going to just walk you through kind of how I approach this report whenever it comes in. Okay, now this begs the question: in order to spend the appropriate amount of time reading through this and studying this and kind of internalizing this and identifying the couple of key metrics that I want to, you know, memorize or write down in my notebook so that I can, you know, say to a consumer, you know, when prompted, I have to have time to do that, right? So you have to ask yourself, do I make time, let's say that first week of the month, to say, hey, today's the day that I spend 2 hours studying the MMO, or today's the day that I spend, you know, 30 minutes studying the Chartmaster slide. Is that in your calendar, right? Because the goal is to get you guys so busy that you essentially are fighting for time, right? So if this doesn't find a slot in your calendar, the likelihood of it happening is very small. Is that fair to say? So I'll ask you, have you made time to study the market for your building, your budding business? Okay. So here's kind of the way I look at it. There's a lot of data in here. Not all of it is overwhelmingly helpful, but I want you just to get a rough idea of what's going on here. Okay. We're going to start with detached property. So detached property, as many of you know, I'm sure, is single family homes, not condos, not townhomes. Okay. And these are in the 42 MLS areas, which is basically Metro Atlanta. Okay. It goes as far north as like North Forsyth, I believe, as far west as like a little past Gwinnett County, a little, or east, I'm sorry. West, it goes to like Paulding County, and south, it goes like to Stockbridge, Noonan, that area. Okay. So what it does is it separates, look at all this red stuff up here. So it separates by price range. Let's just take 351 to 400 for a second, okay? As of April the 30th, there was 405 active properties. There were 993 pending properties, okay, for a pending ratio of 71%. So 71% of the properties that are on the market basically are under contract, okay? Now, the next little section here talks about the number of closings in the previous 12 months, or previous 3 months. That's January through March. Okay, so if we go back to that same price range, there's been 1,312 properties. Now, foreclosure percentage, 0.4%. Short sale percentage, 0.1%. So a total distressed property percentage of 0.5%. So just as a reminder, guys, if somebody comes to you and says, hey, send me all the foreclosures, you got to ask a ton of questions, okay? Because chances are they don't know what's going on in the marketplace, because foreclosures represent less than 0.5%. Now, if you go up by price range, under $25,000, as you would imagine, a single family home for under $25,000, the majority of them are distressed, right? But as you start going up in price range, you start to see that that number falls away. The idea there is the property values have been appreciating for several years in a row, like, God, 9 or 10 years in a row, probably. And therefore, the vast majority of people that own homes right now have equity in their homes. Does that make sense? So let's go super basic for a second. If I bought a home for $300,000 and I took out a mortgage for $270,000, and 5 years later the home is worth $400,000, and my $270,000 mortgage is now, let's say, $250,000, then I've got $150,000 worth of equity. It's worth $400,000, and I owe $250,000, right? So what that means is, if let's say I were to lose my job and I've got no method of paying my rent, then I'm not going to let my house go to foreclosure because there's equity there. So I'll just sell it for what it's worth, pay off my $250,000 mortgage, and walk with $150,000 and go rent something to give me a little space to find the job, my next job. But I'm never going to let the bank take it, because then they'll take the equity too. Does everyone follow that? Okay. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page there. So failed listing percentage. So failed listings like 250 to 300, for example, 7%. So 93% of the time you take a listing in this price range, it's going to sell. And as you would imagine, as the price goes higher, the failed listing percentage goes up, because there's fewer buyers that can buy $1 million property, for example. So let's say that, Chantrell, you're about to go interview for a listing that is, let's say, 425. Okay, so you would go over here and say, only 11% of these listings, 11.7% of these listings are going to fail to sell, meaning the rest of them are going to sell. Now, some of them, as we know, are going to sell after a price reduction, and some of them are going to sell before a price reduction is necessary. Okay, but this just gives you kind of the real basics here. Okay, this is I think this is a bit confusing here. The median original list price and the median sales price. When you're looking at it from a price range perspective, it's kind of skewy, because we pretty much know the median from 350 to 400 is going to be around 375, right? I don't think that tells us a whole lot. Okay, what is most important is these two things right here, which is the median number of, or percentage of sales to list price ratio. So for example, if you're going to take a listing from 350 to 400, let's say, the median list price to sales price ratio is 100%, right? So half of the properties in that price range are selling above 100%, okay? And that is a median number of days of 11, okay? So if you put that home on the market, Chantrell, for 425, let's go back to, to that for 13 days, and you haven't got a contract within 13 days, you need to be talking about a price reduction, okay, immediately. And by the way, you should probably be showing your seller some of this data, number one, so they know that you're smart and you have connections to this type of these types of resources. But secondly, to say, hey, we're going to put this price out there, and I need to let you know, If we don't have a contract in 13 days, we got the wrong price. So you do want to sell this home, yes? Okay, great. So if we don't have a contract in 13 days, we're getting back together and we're going to lower the price. Make sense? And you're having those conversations with them to set those appropriate expectations. So you can look at everything that we've discussed in all of these price ranges. And this is for the month of April. Okay, so that is percentages. This is the actual data itself. Okay, so let's see. Just double check this. Detached. Price reduced median number of days. Okay, here's a cool little piece of data here. Okay, every once in a while he switches up these slides and I haven't quite studied them to the nitty gritty, but this is a really cool slide here. So let's go back to this 350 to 400. Okay, this is what we were just talking about. What's the data when the home sells without a price reduction? What's the data when the home goes under contract with a price reduction, right? So no price reduction, right? 11 days, 100% of list price. No, wait, I'm sorry. Total sold, no price reduction. Oh, okay, I'm looking at the wrong stuff. 11 days on the market median, 100% of list price if the home does not have a price reduction. Okay, 95% is the average number of days or median number of days if the price was reduced, and it takes 59 days for median days on the market. Does that make sense? So it can get a little hairy to try to decipher this, but that's the idea. Is if you show a seller, hey, would you prefer to market your home for 11 days, or would you prefer to market the home for 59 days? Would you prefer, well, market the home doesn't mean anything to them. What is meaningful to them is how many days in a row they got to clean all their countertops, how many days in a row they got to make all their beds, how many days in a row they got to, deal with all the dirty dishes and all that kind of stuff, right? And make sure the kids' rooms are clean and all that, right? What a pain. Wouldn't it be nice to sell the home in 11 days instead of 59? Oh, and by the way, right, get 5% more for your home, 350 to 400, that's almost $20,000. So Mrs. Gibson, let me ask you, what would you like to spend? What would you like to buy with that $20,000? You see what I'm saying? So you put them in that mental place of having already saved the money. Gosh, you can buy some really nice stuff for your new home with that $20,000, don't you think? You see what I'm saying? Okay. This is a slide that shows you from the effect on sellers, this time period versus the same time period last year. And basically every category, every price range almost, the situation is better for sellers. Okay, better for sellers. So we say 300 to 500, price reductions down 32%. Median number of days on the market down 84%. Active listing supply down 71%, right? And you can see how it's all affected by price range. So these are really, by the way, these are the counties that are included. Paulding, Gwinnett, inside and outside Forsyth, or I'm sorry, Fulton County, Forsyth, Douglas, DeKalb, West Cobb, East Cobb, Cherokee. Okay. This is kind of a summary. This is a nice little summary slide. So I'm not sure why they did it because it's the same data on the left and right hand side. But if you look at, this is all the price ranges here, all combined. Okay, last year at this time period, median number of days was 50. Now it's 11. That's a decrease of 78%. Supply is down 65.5%. Right, pending listings up 43%. That's better for sellers, right? Sold listings, the sales itself are not changing that much. It's only up 2.2%, right? So you can look at this and kind of get an idea of how the market is changing either quarter over quarter or year over year. Make sense? Again, this is by percentages, the same slide we looked at by percentages. Here's a summary statement. Okay, percentage of or number of active listings. In April of 2020, I know COVID had something to do with this, right? But 11,250 versus now 4,089. Okay, sharply lower by 63.7%. Okay, number of solds not that much different. It's only up 2.2%, right? Foreclosure percentage, as you would expect, is going down.
Hey,
Total-
Bill.
Yeah.
I hate to interrupt. I have a question for you about the previous slide. I can't quite wrap my mathematical brain around how we can be down, active listings can be down 66% or whatever, but the sold listings are up 2.2%. What am I missing? What's the
Okay, good question. So let's see if we can kind of dissect that. Okay, so let's make sure we're talking about the right slide.
that's it.
That's it right here. Okay, so in all the price ranges, active listings are down from 11,250 to 4,000.
Yeah.
Okay, the pending listings are up 43%. Okay, the
We're
sold-
down. Yeah, up. You're right. Sorry.
All right, I'm kind of digesting this all at the same time. So if anyone wants to chime in, obviously feel free. Okay.
Well, what it basically means to me, those two different numbers, is that we, of course, have fewer homes that are not selling.
Right.
And that, because of the decrease in supply, more of the homes are selling. And that's how it's gone up. But it's also gone up so much because, a year ago, it was COVID. It was middle of COVID. And so people weren't really going out as much and buying.
So Pam, how does this work out in your opinion? So if there's higher pending listings, which you just stated, 43.6% higher pending listings, how do you get 11,992 sales if you only have 9,187 pendings?
They're different properties. There's 9,000 that are actually pending, and there was 11,000 additional that actually sold that month.
Yes,
Oh, so-
exactly.
Okay, gotcha.
see.
Yeah, that totally
Yeah.
makes sense. So
Mhm.
we'd have to go back and look at the pendings from the previous MMOs to see what percentage of these homes were under contract and ultimately did not close.
Okay. So the biggest difference here, I guess, is what you said just a minute ago, is that there's just more houses or last year there was more houses that just weren't selling.
That's
Right.
correct. And part of that is, like Pam said, is COVID, where people,
Yeah.
for those that weren't in the business, when kind of COVID hit, I mean, remember, nobody even knew what it was or how it spread or anything, right? And so people were wearing booties. I never understood why people were wearing booties, but they were wearing booties, they were wearing gloves, they were wearing double masks, right? People were one at a time in the houses. Like some people, honestly, some people still haven't left their house, right? Remember we talked about a long time ago, there's kind of three groups of people. One is the people that are and I mean, no judgment here, okay? And I tell you this because your prospects are going to fit into one of these three categories, okay? And so you need to be able to respect how they think and then serve them in the way that makes them feel most comfortable, okay? Just so if you have your own little personal opinions about COVID and, vaccines and all that kind of stuff, please understand that not everyone in the public feels the same way you do, okay? And so where was I going with that exactly? Oh, so the three types are the people that are, basically still haven't left their house. They're petrified of this and they're not going in, and certainly not going into anyone else's house, right? They're on the sidelines until this thing gets calmed down. Then there's the people that are, what I would say, more typical than anything, where, they're out in the public, they're wearing masks, they're, kind of doing what, kind of society expects them to do. And then there's the people that really haven't, thought there was a problem at all, right? And they're out there behaving the way they want to behave, right? So you got to remember, it's kind of thinning out a little bit, but you got to find out, how does your client, what's your client's opinion of all this? Are they really apprehensive to go into other people's property? Are they really apprehensive to to show up at open houses and these kind of things. So you got to still understand there's people that are still pretty shaky. And clearly it's still happening. Candace is positive right now.
Bill,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. I'm looking at trying to digest this, what was going on here with the sold versus pendings. Isn't that what, like I got lost in it there for a second.
Yeah, let me try to summarize them. So solds is, it's a different, we're looking for different data. So for example, solds are the ones that, like the pendings and the solds are just two different groupings of homes. The sold data was basically the pending last month, right?
Right. I get that, but what I guess what I'm seeing, because I find it interesting that the pending listings is really the only major positive number on the whole chart. And it looks to me like this year over last year that we have more properties going pending, right?
We have more properties going pending now.
But
Well, no. Let me rephrase that. It's the number of homes that are under contract now is 43% higher than it was this time last year. That's really all of it, all it's saying. It's a comparison from one year to the other. And by the way, it's all based on its effect on the seller. So, you know, for example, having a higher number of sold listings is better for the seller. Having a higher number of pending listings is better for the seller. Having a lower number of active listings to choose from is better for the seller. That's why that's a negative number.
Right. I get that. I guess with the pending listings, you know, I hear all the time people going, no one can get a contract. No one can get a contract. Well, the data is showing that actually you can.
You can, but there's 10 or 20 or 30 people who wanted that same house that couldn't get the contract.
I get that, but it is a number to fight the no one can get it. You use that to say, actually, more people are going under contract. You just have to be willing to do what you need to do to get under contract. Right.
Well said. Very well said. So
Yeah.
the sheer number of closings is up, but barely up, 2.2%. Okay.
Right.
The number of pendings, again, I'd like to see this in a couple of months when, you know, kind of COVID wasn't at its height, right? Back in April of last year. Because April of last year, remember, we were all in like mandatory shutdown, right?
Yeah.
We call lockdown, right? So there's some significant variables here that, you know, there's more to the story. The fact of the matter is the number of sales is roughly the same, but you have, like Pam suggested, a lot more buyers in the marketplace, and therefore it feels like less homes are selling. But what's really happening is there's more buyers that want each of them.
And look at the failed listings number.
So failed listings number went from 4,600 to 1,805. Right, so 61% less properties are failing to sell.
Yeah.
Right. Great questions. Great questions. We're also seeing, you know, median number of days down 78%. The incidences of price reductions down 27%. Right. Now, let me make an interesting point here. If you show this slide to a seller, it wouldn't be unheard of for them to come back and say, well, damn, all I got to do is put a sign in the yard and I'll sell this thing. It's kind of like a FSBO. Why should I pay you 3%?
Yeah, I'm dealing with that right now.
Okay. So what do people like? They like to look good and they like to be right. Right. So acknowledge the part that is being right. You're probably right, sir. You probably will put a sign in the yard if you so desire, and you will get people that want to buy your home. That's actually not what I'm worried about at all. Okay. What I'm worried about is you taking on financial risk, legal risk, disclosure risks, safety risks, and you accepting a contract that is your cooperating agent is professionally trained to negotiate against you. Okay. And you may or may not, most likely not, know what's happening on the ground right now in the industry, so you can know if you're taking on risks that are potentially unnecessary or you're leaving money on the table. So again, I don't have any doubt you'll get a contract. I'm actually not all that concerned about that at all. Do you mind if I share with you what my major concern is? Right. And by the way, that's language skills too. So rather than just going right into, well, let me tell you why you're wrong, say, you're right. However, there's some additional things I want to share with you that may be of interest to you before you make this choice, right? Number one, let's talk a little bit about disclosures. You know, are you properly disclosing everything? Let's talk a little bit about getting access. Let's talk a little bit about the nitty-gritty of the contract and contingencies, right? Do you plan on accepting a contract with a due diligence period? You may not have to if you went on the open market. See what I'm saying? So do you mind
Also,
if I-
they are going to get tons and tons of looky-loos who are not qualified buyers.
That's right. Remember the discussion on for sale by owners, not to go on, I'll go on a 45-second diatribe here, okay? As they taught us in bold, there's 4 different types of buyers for sale by owners, or really 4 different types of buyers at all. Okay, the first is they're well qualified and they're in a hurry. Okay, they are not driving up and down streets looking for FSBOs. Okay, they're working with an agent, and neither is the agent, and the agent's going to look online to see where the properties are that are available, show them those properties, and that's that. The second group of people, so most likely they're not going to approach a FSBO. The second group of people is the people who are really nervous about the process, right? They're taking their time, they're very patient. They, of course, are hiring a buyer's agent too, who's not going to drive up and down the streets looking for FSBOs. They're going to go into FMLS and find out what's officially listed and show them those properties, okay? So group 1 and group 2, FSBO is probably not going to see those buyers. Okay. Group 3 is the group that are going to come to the FSBOs, and that's the investors, because they're looking to outsmart a seller who doesn't have professional representation. And they're the type of person that will come in and lowball them. And because the seller doesn't have anyone to protect them, because they don't do this day in and day out, they have a likelihood of accepting a contract that they wouldn't have to accept otherwise and leaving money on the table, right? And the fourth type of person, so that's not good for a FSBO, clearly, right? And the fourth type of person is like Pam said, which is the looky-loos, right? These are the people that want to buy a pretty house, right? But they can't get a realtor to help them because they're not qualified, right? They probably called a handful of them, and most realtors will say, hey, tell me a little bit about, you visited with the lender, what's your budget? Do you have a loan worksheet? You know, what type of loan are you going to get? Are you financially ready to do this? And they kind of ghost the agent because they're not prepared, or they're not eligible for a loan, so to speak. And they'll waste the FSBO's time all day long because that's the only way they can get into homes and see them. You see what I'm saying? So sometimes you have to, when you're talking to a FSBO, you have to share that with them. Hey, do you mind if I share with you the types of buyers that are in the marketplace today, and whether those buyers will be attracted to your home or will even know your home is available based on your current level of marketing? Can I share that with you? Right. So sometimes if you're about to share some, kind of mediocre news with them, don't just vomit it on them. Say, hey, I've got some concerns about that strategy. Would you mind if I shared them with you? You see what I'm saying? Then they've given you permission to tell them what they need to know to make a savvy real estate choice. Make sense? All right, let me just spend another moment or so going through this. Remember, a lot of these slides, about half of the slides are percentage based, right? And half of them are the numbers based themselves. Okay. Here's another, this is for detached, another annual April 2020 versus 2021. The most important stats side by side with a sentence about what's going on, right? Median number of days, median sales price, failed listing percentages, etc. Okay. This is a really cool slide. I like the way this looks. This is a trailing 6-month trend sheet, right? So November 20, December 20, etc. The most previous 6 months, what's happening with the number of listings on the market, and this trend bar shows you is starting to go down a little bit. And then in April, springtime, it pops up a tiny bit, right? Number of pendings slowed down around the holidays, as you would imagine. Now it's picking back up, right? Foreclosures, kind of choppy there, right? Failed listing percentage, very similar, going down slightly, probably because there's more activity in the springtime, right? Median number of days, pretty much staying the same. right? Median list price to sales price ratio, up, 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 up. It's up every month over 6 months. Y'all see that? Same thing with median original list price. What does this tell you? Sellers are getting a little greedy. Ooh, that guy sold for 350. Wonder if I can get 380. See what I'm saying? Okay. Detached months of supply. For those that have been in the business for 10, 12 years, boy, this is a surprise to look at, right? You're pretty much in a strong seller's market up to about 1.5 million. Beyond 1.5 million, buyer's market. Make sense? Remember, what is the average months of supply for a balanced market, guys? Somebody tell me. Let's make this interactive. 6 months.
6 months.
Exactly. So look at this, y'all. This is probably our most typical price range, 350 to 400. Not even a month. Not even a month. Although it is starting to creep up. Y'all see that? 0.6, 0.7, 0.6, 0.9, 0.9, 1.11, 1.2, 1.3, starting to creep up a tiny bit. So these are things that we look for to understand how to build our business and how to tweak our business for what's coming in the summertime, right? Then we look at attached. Attached is condos and townhomes. And I haven't seen him do this before, but what he did is he then separated a lot of the slides we've seen, and then he separated condos and townhomes. So you can see these, the trend reports. Remember, oftentimes there's 2 markets that will tend to be the leading indicators for the standard single family residence. That's the condo market and the luxury market. So if you start to see some deterioration in the luxury market or the condo market, it's probably coming to the single family home market soon. Okay, so these are things that we study. Now the condo market is a little bit different here, right? Volatile if you are less than 100,000, it's a little volatile based on months of supply. Overall, it's still a very strong seller's market. My hunch here is you have a lot of homes in very poor shape. You got a lot of condos and townhomes that are probably part of HOAs where there's HOA problems, like, you know, high percentage of renters or high percentage of delinquent HOA fees, and that could limit the types of loans that buyers can get in those communities, right? It's a bit of a changing market from 6 to 700, right? And then you start to get a little closer to a buyer's market as you creep up that 750 and higher, okay? Here he actually separated townhomes and condos, which I've not seen before. So you can see the difference year over year, townhomes versus condos, failed listing percentage, original listing price, all that stuff, okay? There's some areas, let's say you got, let's say your budget's $400,000 and you want to live inside the perimeter Sandy Springs, you ain't gonna find a house. So if you want to live there, you're gonna have to be in a condo or townhome. Plain and simple. If you found a tear down with a crappy lot, you're probably 425 or 450 right now, right? So sometimes your customers are gonna have to make a decision. Would they rather live in a townhome in, you know, over near like, you know, Glen Ridge or Hammond or, you know, Chastain Park, or would they rather have a single family home in Smyrna or Tucker or Duluth or Flowery Branch or Woodstock, right? A little further away. So these are a lot of questions that you get to guide your people on. Hey, this is how the last 6 months, or this is how year over year, the stats are going for condos and townhomes and single family homes. Now knowing all this data, sir, does this change any of your goals?
Bill,
See what I'm saying? Yes, ma'am.
this raises kind of an issue and a problem that I ran into. You know, you can have this over here or this right here in the area that you want, and then they want to see it all, both of them. They don't want to make a decision until they've looked at everything. And so, you know, I ended up showing, you know, I would be in Smyrna and then they'd want to drive over to Stone Mountain. And that's also a product of being able to work from home, you know, Zoom meetings and remote working, that they don't want to pick an area. And that's, how do you handle that? I mean, that became a real issue.
Great question. It's delicate, right? Because as a consumer, you wouldn't want to like pick a neighborhood without being familiar with it, right? And seeing what those options look like, right? You're telling me I can afford this in Stone Mountain or this in Smyrna. Well, I want to see them both before I make a choice. I'm dropping a couple $100,000 here. So that's a reasonable request, but it's also reasonable to ask them, hey, have you driven the neighborhoods over there, right? Have you researched the school districts? Have you gone to the coffee shop or the grocery store? Or, like if you want to know kind of who lives in that area, then go stake it out, right? Drive the neighborhoods and go to the coffee shop and look at what the shopping centers look like, and go to the grocery store and, see the type of people that shop at that grocery store, if that's important to you, right? And so there's a little bit of homework you need to do before we start driving all over town. But if you've done that homework and you say, hey, I like the Smyrna area, I've been to that park and I'm, familiar with the city center and all that. And, I also love Stone Mountain. My family loves going hiking, blah, blah, blah. Say, great. It sounds like you've kind of done some research and I admire that. I'm really grateful you spent the time. I know this is a tough decision. So which place do you want to go to tomorrow? Right. So like you basically want to request of them to help them really save time and kind of pose it that way. Hey, in order for you to save time and make sure that we're not going to look at homes in a neighborhood that you don't care for whatever reason, have you spent some time driving around and kind of familiarizing yourself with what it would be like to live over there, right? And if they say yes, you got to take them, right? But if they say, oh, no, I haven't really done that, say, hey, well, it's a big difference living in Tucker versus Smyrna, right? So my recommendation is you go have dinner at a restaurant in Tucker and see what you think, right? I'm not telling you it's good or bad. I don't care, right? It's all about what you want. Does that make sense? So like you got to give them a little homework in order to pass the test, and then you got to, you got to respect their wishes, right?
Yeah, it absolutely makes sense. I just ran into because there's such a limited amount of properties. I would get, oh, here's a home in Smyrna, here's a home in Stone Mountain. Those are the only two we found that we want to look at today. And then I get one from each of those areas because that's what's popping up on Redfin. That's what's popping up on Zillow.
It sounds like we're a little bit of everywhere.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, since we first sat down and talked about this process during our buyer consultation, has anything changed? Because the first time we met, you told me you wanted to be within 10 minutes of your job over near the Galleria. So Smyrna would probably be a great match for you, yet Stone Mountain doesn't appear to be that great of a match. So has something changed? So you're basically asking them to defend their desires, right? Like I remember, I built my business in a totally different in a totally different market, right? Where there was deals all over the place, so to speak, right? So I'd have somebody that says, well, I want to be in Marietta because I want to be in this particular school district. Then they'd send me a listing in Canton and I'd say, I'm confused. I thought we wanted to live in Marietta. They said, well, it's such a good deal. I'm like, yeah, but are you buying the home or are you buying the deal? Right. And so those were the conversations we used to have, right? So you really just have to understand every time they're giving you something to do that is different than your notes suggest, you have to go back to their motivation. Well, this is a little different than what you asked for 25 minutes ago. So can you help me understand what's changed? Because there may be other homes in Stone Mountain we can see at the same time. What's changed? By the way, have you gone into Google and seen what the commute time average is from Stone Mountain to the Galleria at 6:30 in the morning when you'd have to leave? No, I haven't done that. I suggest you do that. It's quite a trip. I don't want the first time you do that drive to be the day after you bought the home. Is that fair? You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because that woman's criteria is just ridiculous, probably. I mean, how are you going to get homes in Smyrna and Stone Mountain popping up in the same search? Like, she's basically just saying, I need a home, right? Most people don't think about it that way.
Well, and some people, as they learn the market, they change what they, what's important to them.
Of course, but it's your job to understand how those changes are happening along the process. So when they start introducing new stuff to you, hey, this is a 3-bedroom home. Wait. I remember my notes say that you only needed a 4-bedroom home. So help me understand what has changed and why this home is catching your attention. Right? Oh, well, it has a basement, and if the basement looks like this and it has this extra space, then that'd be acceptable too. Okay, well, now we opened up a whole lot of new stuff, right? And because you've listened to that, then you can go in and tweak the search accordingly. But if you don't bother to ask those couple of additional questions to understand where they are mentally, you're missing opportunity. And by the way, they're expressing what they want, and you're expressing the fact that you don't seem to care so much, maybe even not listening. You see what I'm saying? So every one of these conversations is an opportunity to prove that you're listening and that you are trying to save them time, and you're trying to be a strategic advisor, right? And remember, our job is not to tell them where to move. Our job is to help them gather all the information so they can decide where to move. Okay. So, and then he separates it by condo only. So you can kind of look at what's going on in the townhome only and condo only market. Here's a pretty cool slide for total closings, price reduction, not price reduction, etc. for condos and townhomes. Okay, so that I posted in the announcements page. I know that's a lot to kind of decipher, but and you know I mean, Chuck is awesome. Nothing against him. He definitely does not err on the side of is less than more or less is more. If so, he would just post this, right? So don't get so overwhelmed by this data that it paralyzes you to go have conversations, right? You could say, hey, just so you know, condos and townhomes down, inventory is down 46.8%. Did you know that? Right? Somebody says, hey, I'm looking for a short sale in a townhome. Be like, well, me too, but I hadn't been able to find one yet, right? You just got to understand what is realistic in each market. Make sense? Was this helpful? All right. You guys, thank you so much for everything you're doing. Please give me a little bit of love today and post your numbers for the first 9 days in May, so I can see this leaderboard that I worked so hard on kind of adjust. And don't forget about the team meeting today, and I will see you soon.
Bill,